Hello, this is Jason Clement, Technical Sales Manager at Isonas, and welcome to this online training video. This module is Pure Access Monitoring. In this module, we will review what dashboards are and how to configure them. Dashboards are the core monitoring of events in Pure Access as they happen. What floor plans are and how to configure them. What alerts are and how to configure them, and how to notify users in the event of an alert. These topics can all be covered by reviewing them directly in the software. In our previous module, we've connected our access points, we've created some groups and rules, and added some users into the system. Now how do we monitor the system and take some actions against these access points that are in our system? We can do that through dashboards, floor plans, and alerts. First, let's look at our dashboards. Here's the dashboard we populated in a previous module. We have a single access point widget which shows us the history and the state of the door. It also allows us to take some actions against the door. For example, we can admit access through. This will open a door for its specified unlock time. We can also set this door into an unlock mode. When we set it to unlocked, it will stay unlocked until I manually go in here and lock it back up, which would be putting it back to its scheduled mode. We can also go ahead and lock just this door down, and it's going to ask us, hey, are you sure you want to do this? Because no credentials will work aside from master badges in the system. We'll go ahead and say yes, and we'll put this device in the lockdown. If it's an RCO3, you'll see both LEDs go red. If it's an RCO4, intermittently the red LED will blink. Then we can take this out of lockdown by putting it back into its scheduled mode. If we go back and edit this, we see that we can filter based on all of these different events in the system. So for example, we may only want to see approved and declined access, and then also decline no badge, decline no time zone, and decline lockdown. So those will show me all the declines in the system. Also decline tamper. So once we save that filter, it will be applied, but only to this dashboard. When we create another dashboard, we can create another widget for the single access point and have it filter based on different events. By default, this main dashboard is actually called main, but we can go ahead and rename this. I can go ahead and call this Jason's dashboard. Let's go ahead and fill out the rest of these custom widgets. We'll just click the add button here and we'll choose a multiple access point widget. We'll go ahead and populate this in. We can view the status of 12 individual access points through this widget. Click the add button and the access point that you want in that spot. And so on and so forth until you've filled up all the slots or you've used up all your access points. So here I can see my 5 access points I have in the system, and if they have any status associated with them, the employee entry and the front door are both reader controllers that I have the door contact connected to. If you remember, these other doors were on an IP bridge. I did not have any door contacts connected to it, so we don't see the status of the door. This time is basically the last history event that it saw something happen at that door. Now we can admit, lock, unlock, or lock down access points through this as well, simply by highlighting the access point, which will change it from its default status to showing a check mark on it. Then we can admit entry through, and we can take the same actions we did as a single access point. Put it back to its normal schedule, unlock it, or put it into a lockdown state. You can have as many multiple access point widgets as you want. One common item that people ask when they have larger systems is how they manage multiple doors in a system if you can only view 12 access points within a widget. Just like monitoring cameras, I wouldn't monitor 100 cameras at once. I wouldn't monitor 100 doors at once either. I would set up alerts in the system to alert me of actual events that I want to be notified of. We'll talk about alerts in a little bit. But just making a bunch of multiple access point widgets doesn't really give you any insight into the system, as your mind can't comprehend all that information at once anyways. So let's go ahead and populate another custom widget here. We're going to skip history for now, and we'll go to access point admit. This is exactly what it sounds like. You choose an access point, we'll use our employee entry, and it basically gives you an admit button. And it just admits entry through that access point. This is designed for a receptionist so they don't need a push button at the desk anymore. They can have a simple dashboard in Pure Access and be able to admit entry through any doors that they need to this way. Now that we filled up this dashboard, let's go ahead and add another dashboard in. We'll click Add Dashboard, and we'll call this Jason's DB Dashboard for short 2. We're going to leave this as a general dashboard right now. We can also assign this to a user group, which is basically another way to filter these dashboards, so only authorized people can see the dashboards that they need to. My advice on that is don't use it if you don't need it. It gets quite confusing once you start putting things into user groups and you lose track of it. We don't need it for this system because it's fairly small, so we'll just go ahead and save this. Now we skipped the history custom widget, because the bottom widget here, this long rectangular one, is always going to be a history. If we click on the gear icon, it's going to say, what do we want to display in here? We can filter by users, so we can see here by default it's going to show all users. But, for example, maybe we only want to see office employee traffic in this history widget. Second, it's going to show all of the access points. Again, maybe we don't want that, so we'll just go ahead and uncheck that. Maybe we only want to see access from the employee entry and the front entry. Finally, what event types do we want to filter on? Just like the single access point, we can filter based on all of these events. We'll just go ahead and leave all the events up. Finally, we can filter on badge IDs. You usually don't have to do this, you would just filter based on the user, so we'll just go ahead and leave all the badge IDs populated. We'll go ahead and click Done. And this is just my general history in the system. You can also expand this bottom dashboard out just by clicking these double arrows that are pointed away from each other, and it will expand that out to take up the whole screen. And you can just minimize it again by clicking that double arrow again. Since I put a custom filter on this history widget at the bottom, if we take a look at what is shown here, and then move back to my original dashboard, which has a different filter applied to it, we can see that the events that I see are different. Each dashboard in the system is fully customizable. Let's go back to our second dashboard here. Let's go ahead and populate another custom widget. This will be a lockdown access points. So we'll choose lockdown access points and click Next. Now it's going to ask us what access points we want to lock down. We can lock down all access points, which is everything in the system. It's not based on any group that we create, it's just going to lock down every single access point connected to this tenant. Next, we can lock down based by group, so our all door office doors and warehouse employee doors. And finally, by single access points. So we'll go ahead and just leave this at all access points in our system, and we'll go ahead and click Done. Here basically we have a lockdown and reset, and what it's going to lock down is all access points. So if I go ahead and click lockdown, go ahead and say yes, it's going to set our whole system into lockdown, locking down all of the access points. I'll go ahead and click reset to reset this lockdown and set it back to its normal state. The final custom widget type is user profile. User profile is usually done just on a single door, so I'm going to go ahead and uncheck all access points, and we'll choose our main employee entry door. What this does is it shows the last history event in the system at this access point and the person's picture. So a person could have their laptop out, watching an entry as employees come through, matching the person's face to what their face looks like in Pure Access. This way you can find out if anybody's sharing cards in their system. So I'll go ahead and read Jane's card. There we can see the last history event of Jane reading her card and her picture in the system. Now before we move on, let's take a look at this lockdown really quick. So I'm going to go ahead and set this into lockdown. We'll go back to our main dashboard. And what happens if we want Jan's card to work during a lockdown? If I go ahead and read his card right now, it's going to reject his card based on decline lockdown. So how do we get around that? Let's go ahead and go back to our other dashboard and we'll reset our lockdown here. I'm going to go ahead and put this back in a lockdown. It's going to say, are you sure you want to activate a lockdown? No credentials beside master badges will work while access points are locked down. So what's a master badge? We'll go ahead and say no here. Let's go ahead and go under our users. We'll look at Jan's record here. And it says master credentials. So let's go ahead and highlight a credential by clicking on it and then click the gear icon to edit it. Up in the upper right hand corner, it says badge special properties. If we set this to a master credential, then this specific credential, not all credentials under Jan, will be able to work in a master lockdown scenario. If we set this to master credential, then this credential and this credential only will work during a lockdown scenario as long as Jan would normally have access to that door. The other option here is toggle unlock. If we set this to toggle unlock, and then we choose which door or doors that we want it to work at, this badge would go from being a normal badge to being able to toggle that door between an unlock and a lock state. So if you use toggle unlock badges, it's usually a separate badge that you would mark somehow so somebody knows that it's a toggle unlock. I've used those in the past when a company has sporadic open hours. You just give them a badge, say read this badge at the door you want it to unlock, and it will stay unlocked until you read it again. Go ahead and uncheck our toggle unlock and we'll leave master credential and we'll go ahead and save that. We'll save changes for Jan, which of course we made changes in the system, so we need to update our access points. We'll run an update. We'll go to our dashboard. We'll go to our second dashboard. Go ahead and initiate our lockdown again. And now I'll read my credential and I should grant access. So if we take a look at our user profile, the last event was an improved access by Jan Kowalski even during the lockdown because we set his master badge status. Let's go ahead and take the system back out of lockdown here. The next part to review are floor plans. Floor plans are configured under access control. We can add them to a dashboard once we create an actual floor plan. So we'll go under access control and then we'll go to the building submenu. A building or floor plan in Pure Access is essentially two pieces. It's a building name and then a floor or multiple floors underneath that building. So let's go to the menu on the left here. We'll click the gear icon to edit this and we'll call this something else. For example, we'll call it Boulder. And save this. So now we can see that we're managing the Boulder building and then we can add floors underneath that. So let's go ahead and click add a plan. We'll click on the gear icon next to new floor to edit this floor name and we'll call it first floor. Click the green check to save it. And now, very lightly, you can see that there's a gear icon here. If we click this, it'll allow us to add in a floor plan to the system. So we'll go ahead and browse. I've got some floor plans here. We'll upload generic print. And here's our print in the system and all the doors on the right-hand side. All we have to do is click and drag these over to the location near the door. Drag file room door over. We'll put it on this office here. Our front door, we'll put this by the receptionist entry. Our MDF door, we'll put this at the server. And then finally our warehouse door maybe is going back into this office. That's all we have to do. There's no save button or anything. Once you drag these over, it's pretty intuitive and it saves itself on its own. So now we've got this floor plan uploaded. We've put our access points or doors where they need to go. Now we just need to create a dashboard out of this. So we'll go over to our dashboards. We'll add a new dashboard in. We'll call this folder FP for floor plan. And we'll choose floor plan type instead of general. We'll go ahead and click save. And now it's going to ask us what building and what floor do we want to populate into this dashboard. We're going to choose boulder and first floor. Now we'll go ahead and click save. Now we can see the floor plan and the status of all the doors on the floor plan. We see that the front door that we set up is set into an unlock mode because it's on an unlock schedule. The employee entry has this hazard sign on it. What does that mean? If you go up back to the Add Dashboard button, there's this question mark. If you click that, it'll tell you what the different icons in the system mean. This means there's an alert on the door. We'll go ahead and take a look at that alert in a minute. We can take actions on these doors just like we can through a dashboard. So if I go ahead and select the employee entry, now I can see I've got this widget on the left hand side here to admit entry through. And I can also unlock the door, put it back to its schedule, or set it into a lockdown mode. You can also select multiple doors through the map and take action on all of those. So for example here, I just put everything into an unlock mode. Now I'll put it back to its regular scheduled mode. And then clicking them again will basically unselect them. And you can see here when a door is selected, it shows a blue icon. So let's go ahead and take a look at our alerts in the system. We can take a look at alerts either by clicking alerts on the main menu here, or you can also take a look at alerts by clicking the upper right hand corner. Now notice this little red dot here. This little red dot indicates that we have active alerts in the system. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what these alerts are. So on our alerts page, we basically see a queue of alerts in the system. I can see that at the employee entry, I have two different alerts. Credential rejected and an unauthorized open. An unauthorized open meaning there was no Rex event or valid credential presented before somebody opened the door. Before we look at what to do with these, let's go ahead and take a look at the settings. So here's our main alerts page, and next to that we see the settings configuration. The first field below this is extended open threshold. How long before a door is propped open? For example, I trigger the Rex and I pull the door open and I prop it open. How long before that door goes into an alarm? For example, I can put 180 seconds, which would be 3 minutes. After 3 minutes of that door being propped open, it will generate a extended open alert in the system. Here's all the alerts that we can have triggered in the system: tamper, aux and Rex alarm, credential rejected for various reasons, and extended open and unauthorized open on the doors. We can either have alerts automatically clear out of the queue, for example, alerts that I want to stay in the history, but I don't want them to show up in the queue because I don't really need to know about them when they happen. Second, we can disable alerts altogether. I don't want to see the alert created, I don't want to have it auto cleared out, I don't really care about it, just disable it altogether. And finally, we can set email notifications. Earliest time to be notified, latest time to be notified, who needs to be notified, whether it's a group of users or all users, and what they need to be notified about. Alright, in this scenario, I'm going to go ahead and disable aux and Rex alarms. You may or may not do this on your site depending on what you want to see. And I'm going to go ahead and have credential rejected automatically clear out of the queue. We'll go ahead and set Jan Kowalski to be notified. Basically, if there's ever any extended open or unauthorized open alerts in the system. We'll go ahead and save these changes. In order for Jan to receive these alerts, we just need to double check his user record to make sure that we have an email address in there for him. So let's go back to our user records. Click on Jan's record here. And we have to have this alert notification email address here populated. And it's basically going to be the same address that we put under his email login ID. Save these changes. Now he's all set up to receive alerts. Now we can go back to our alert pane. Now that we've got these configured, what can we do with these alerts that are sitting in the queue? On the right hand side, we see alert state basically shows new. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at this one, employee entry credential rejected. From here, we can go ahead and click on this upside down caret to edit this alert. So first we can acknowledge the selected alert. Once we acknowledged it, it goes from alert state new to alert state acknowledged. We can edit a description on here, which is basically a note alongside this alert. So if somebody runs a report and looks back at it, why did this alert happen? This credential rejected was because I was adding somebody's credential into the system by reading it. And we'll save that. So now we can see the employee entry. We added a credential in the system, which was why we got a credential rejected. Finally, I can select this and I can clear it out of the queue. Now we can take care of the employee entry. We'll go ahead and we'll put a note in this one as well. Maybe somebody used their brass key to enter, thereby basically bypassing the card reader. And then we'll go ahead and clear this right out of the system. Now, just because we cleared them out doesn't mean that they're gone. We can go back and take a look at those alerts if we want to. On the right-hand side is this access point filter. We can see 3 different alert states. Let's go ahead and expand this. We can see new alerts, acknowledged alerts, but by default, we do not see cleared alerts. So if I check on this, now we can see all the cleared alerts in the system. So I had cleared some out previously, and these are the 2 that we edited just a few minutes ago. I'll go ahead and uncheck cleared alerts because we don't need to see them. So here we see there's no results because we have no alerts in the system. You can also see that the little red dot is gone. Now we disabled the Rex alerts, so I'm going to go ahead and trigger a Rex alert and let's see what happens on the alerts pane here. I just triggered the Rex, but nothing showed up in our alert queue because we disabled it. So if I go ahead and we filter based on our cleared alerts here, we don't see any new alerts. We'll uncheck our cleared again, and I'll go ahead and get a card reject. So I presented a rejected card. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our cleared alerts again. Here we can see at the employee entry, there was a credential rejected, and it was automatically cleared out, which is why it didn't show up in the queue, which is perfect. It's just what we wanted. We'll go ahead and check that cleared again to clear those out of there. Now we'll go ahead and create a door alarm. So I'll just open the door, basically creating an unauthorized open. And here we can see that the employee entry has an unauthorized open with an alert state new, because we didn't disable it and we didn't set it to auto clear. So now we go ahead and take action on this. We can select this alert. We can basically put in a description. Say Jan used his key, forgot his card. Save that, and now we can go ahead and we can clear that out of the queue. So now if we want to, we can go ahead and run a report. So if I want to see a report basically of today's alerts, and here I want to see everything in there, so we'll go ahead and uncheck cleared there. And now we can see all of our alerts in the system that we populated out there. Go ahead and give this report a name, my alert report, and then we can save this as a PDF. And then we can email it out to somebody if they need it. And of course, if you wanted to, you could filter on these different types. You could filter on basically what alert types there are, or you could filter on specific access point or access point groups if you wanted to. Now, one question that usually pops up, if I go back to settings and I say that a user can receive email alerts, this is on or off. They're either going to receive these alerts or not. But maybe I want Jan to receive certain alerts and I want Jane Doe to receive different alerts. I can do that via custom rules in our system. Custom rules will be in another module, but with custom rules I can set up specific rules that certain people can receive email alerts based on specific events during certain times of the day. A quick recap. A dashboard will show you basic history in the system of card reads and rejects and things like that. And then alerts are really for specific alarms in the system that you want to be notified of. So our credential rejects, our unauthorized open, things like that, we can trigger alerts that they can notify people and then they can react to it accordingly. In this peer access monitoring module, we talked about what dashboards are and how to configure them. Remember, dashboards are the core of monitoring events in peer access as they happen. What floor plans are and how to configure them. What alerts are, how to configure them, and how to notify users in the event of an alert. Thank you for watching this training video and have a fantastic day.